I want to thank you for getting out of the pool, getting out of the ocean, getting out of the office, and coming here. Really appreciate that because it's a hard competition out there to come listen to me. Very excited to speak to you because you're a wonderful audience. You're experts, you're professionals. You lead the way, so there's a lot of pressure on me. I hope I can fulfill and get you to learn something. And I'm very excited because it's my first presentation that I'm doing without shoes. I think that's just wonderful. and having said that, I want to thank the whole remote team, without naming anybody, whole team of Las Catalinas for this incredible experience. And just talking about sustainability, I want to point out something. In Costa Rica, the beaches are public. So you got this development here, but look in the corner over there, that table. See that family sitting there? Several generations. They're picnicking, they're eating. They're family from Heredia. They're staying at another beach in Playas del Coco, and they just came here for the day. And that's the beauty of tourism, bringing everybody together. It's not about excluding, it's about coming together. So Daniel asked me, give a presentation on the future of tourism. I'm like, whoa, crystal ball. I can't foresee the future, as probably nobody can. And if somebody can, they probably make a lot of money and wouldn't be sitting here. But basically my idea here is to talk about this. Real quick about us, about what we do, about where we're coming from. And in order to, nobody can predict the future, but you can learn from the past. So I want to share with you some lessons learned in the last 20 years of working in ecotourism, sustainable tourism, and hopefully that'll help you to predict or to build your future. Then I want to talk quickly about a few challenges that I see ahead in the future that I think we all need to think about real seriously, and in the end come up with some quick conclusions. So, real quick about us. My company is called Cayuga. We're a management company. We manage 9 sustainable luxury hotels in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Panama. It basically all started up there at Cornell University in upstate New York. That's where I met my business partner, Andrea, and I also met my wife there. And my wife's Costa Rican, and this is how I ended up. So we're back to Ellen's story, right? And my first flight was from Strasbourg to Paris, just in case you were wondering. So hence the name also Cayuga. Cayuga Lake is one of the Finger Lakes in upstate New York. Everybody's like, it sounds so Spanish, sounds so Latin. Well, it's actually from the indigenous tribe of the Iroquois of Canada. I came to Costa Rica and my first job was whatever, right? I just needed a job. I needed to follow my girlfriend because she's beautiful. She's Costa Rican. So my first job was to open the first Hampton Inn in Latin America. Doesn't sound that exciting, right? But it was a good challenge. And when I started there, I said, oh man, I'm this beautiful country, just absolutely gorgeous. And they're using these little shampoo bottles, and the plastic, the dishes at the breakfast are out of styrofoam. Oh no, can't do that. So I found this first program, and I called it Piensa Verde, Think Green, and we started with some very basic things. It was 1994, 1995, so sustainability wasn't really an issue. So we started with reuse of the towels, we started with the dispensers, we did recycling, etc. And then went back to Germany for a couple of years to see if I still fit in. Didn't. Came back to Costa Rica. 1999, and since 1999, now 19 years, it's hard to believe, I've been involved in the management of La Porrillo's Lodge on the Osa Peninsula. And thank you, Daniel, for calling me a pioneer, but I'm not a pioneer. I'm just carrying on the torch of people like John and Karen Lewis, who started La Porrillo's in 1999. And there's a real pioneer here in the room as well, who's Johnny Aspinall, who was started in ecotourism here 30-some years ago, without giving away your age. So there's really people that were there before me. And I think what we did at Cayuga is we just took that torch that people put on, and we just continue to carry and maybe hopefully make it better. And this is Andrea, my partner here, my business partner. Well, you get confused. Are you married? No, it's my business partner. So with that background, lessons learned. What have we learned in the last 20 years that I can share with you? What we always tell my staff is we have to get to the experience beyond the basics. We all know that we need a great hotel room, comfortable, good linen, good mattress, everything needs to be working, hot water, the works, right? We need good food, we need good service and all of that. But it's really beyond that. Today the luxury, people ask us, oh, you have luxury hotels? Like, kind of, they're very nice, but it's a different kind of luxury. It's an intelligent luxury. It's an experiential luxury that we're trying to do. So we're trying to go just beyond the basics of the hotel rooms. And when we're talking about that, in hotel school they taught me, the most important thing in hotels is location, location, location. You probably heard that. And it's true. It really is true. If you have a hotel that's got a great location, it's really easy, right? I mean, how many of you, when you see the presentation, you see the hotel like a little bit too far away, the views are not quite there, it's hard to get there, you're like, yeah, thank you very much. Well, I think I'll move on, right? So having these beachfront casitas right in front of the beach is just priceless, right? My job gets a lot easier if I can create something like that. So location is and will always be a main factor in the success of a hotel. And when I talk about the experience, I mean, don't outsource the experience. This is something I learned from a colleague in Canada, and he told me, don't outsource the experience. How many of you in your hotels or with your DMC sometimes outsource really critical processes to a third party? And then things don't quite go that well because you don't really have control. So we had a hotel where we outsourced, the guided walks and the kayaking and the surf lessons and all of that. And the feedback was so-so because, they pick you up at the hotel with a little bus and there's already 2 people in there. And then they go around and pick up another one, another one, another one. They sit in a bus for, talking about sitting in a bus, right? They get in a bus and pick up people all around. And then, they go and then you have to drop everybody off again. And that's just not the experience that people want. So we decided to hire, in most of our hotels, our own guides, our own lifeguards, our own surf instructors, and provide that experience ourselves. And I think that's made a real difference in the experience. So another lesson learned, don't outsource the experience. We have a lemma in Cayuga. We call it experience, learn, connect, relax. I read that about 15 years ago in a market research study. They said, that's what people want. Yeah. Totally, right? That's what you guess that your clients want. They want to have experiences, they want to learn, they want to connect, and they want to relax. So we offered free yoga at most of our hotels every day. And this is not for die-hard yogis, right? This is for people like me that does yoga regularly, every 6 months, right? So it's you going on vacation, yeah, you'll do yoga. You have time for it, right? So experiences like that are really special. And then get them out of the comfort zone. Put them in the water with a surfboard. Teach them how to surf. Or get them on a hike that's a little bit more difficult than what they're used to. Or get them on a waterfall rappelling or on a raft or something. Those things are really priceless. And then probably the most important one is connecting. And this is what we did so well yesterday, thanks to Leticia. Getting us connected with the local people. Right? And you have that possibility there. You can walk up to this family and ask them, so, how is it to be here? How is it to live in Heredia? Are you a fan of Heredia, Alajuela, or Saprissa? You can have a conversation with them about football, about anything you care. And that connection we try to create by our employees sometimes taking our guests fishing when they're off, or a soccer game. It's probably the best way to connect. I remember we had Michael Schumacher a few years back when he was healthy in one of our hotels. And he's kind of, been a little bit, he gets a lot of attention, so he's kind of always a little bit to himself. And we played soccer with the employees, and after that, it was different. He connected with the staff, and he knew that they were not out to get him or out to, ask him for autograph or something. They were just other people, and fouled him, and he fouled him back, and that's where the connection happens. And of course, relax, as we all know, and we all had now a few hours of relax. No, some of us had a few hours of relax right now, is super important on a vacation. And then, probably the most important lesson and the most important thing that we have going at Cayuga, it's about the people. It really is about the people. We're a people's business. And I have many examples, and I was so happy when I walked and checked in from the reception to here on, when was that? Tuesday? Monday? I don't know. Earlier in the week. And I ran into 5 former employees. It's like, hello, yeah, how are you doing? What's going on? Oh, you're here now. Oh, great, great. And there's actually a few former employees here participating in the conference as well. So it's so gratifying for me to see when people continue to grow and continue to develop their careers. But I took 2 examples here. Some of you have been to some of our hotels or going to some of the hotels. The gentleman on the left, his name is Rodbin. Rodbin was a construction worker at the hotel that we have in Manuel Antonio a few years ago. Wind. So he was the guy that's putting the bricks one on top of the other. This was like 12, 13 years ago. And today, he's the operations manager. He's the number 2 next to our general manager. By the way, our general manager is not even 30 yet. You know, just to give you a perspective, somebody said on a fam trip, why is everybody so young here? It's like, well, I don't know, because we give them opportunities and they take them and they really go for it. So Rodbin came from being a bricklayer, a construction worker, to operations manager. He didn't speak Spanish. He never studied. He never, had any experience in hospitality. But he had it. He had that special thing about hospitality. And it changed his life, because before, his nickname was Berlusconi. He changed. He's got a wonderful wife, 3 children. He started his own business. He's providing all the transportation for our hotels, now for several hotels, and he's a wonderful person. And those kind of things, when we're able to do that through our programs of career paths, of trainings, of cross-trainings, is just something really special. And another success story about where we can take this is Edwin. Edwin is a guide at La Porrillos in the Osa Peninsula. And about 35 years ago, he went hunting, gold digging, cutting trees with his fathers. They ate monkeys. They cut down the trees and sold them. Because that's what you did there, because there was nothing else to do. He was involved in the construction of La Porrillos, and then later he became a housekeeper. Then he became the head of housekeeping. Then he developed an interest in birding, learned English, and now he's one of the best birding guides in the Osa Peninsula. So those are the stories that really make a difference, and I think that if we can learn from these stories and take them into the future, that's where the difference gets made. The second thing that's I think is really important for me is service. In the end, that's what it comes down to. When I was at Cornell, there was a plaque in the entrance of Statler Hall. It says, "Life is service. The one who progresses in life is the one who gives his fellow man a little more, a little better service." So that's stuck with me, always, and it still sticks with me. And I share that with all my employees, and I talk about that. Because you can have the most amazing infrastructure, you can have the most amazing physical things. Without service, it means nothing. And you've all been in those places, right? Where you've had most amazing things in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the buildings, in terms of the rooms, but it wasn't just quite right because the service was not efficient, or it was just not quite authentic and real. So as an example here, one of our hotels, when we opened, we had brand new sustainable air conditioning systems, really proud of them, everything was great. Lightning struck, everything out. They were from Japan, no spare parts, takes 6 months to get them fixed, and we have a big Disney group coming next day. Okay, so how do you what do you do, right? What do you do? You bend over backwards and you make up for it in service. And we kept those groups for 3 years. So it is possible. It's hard, but it is possible. But my lesson learned is service trumps everything. I'll take a crappy hotel any day and I'll fix it with service. And then another really important part for today's traveler and in today's world is the culinary experience. everybody's a foodie, right? Right? Everybody, cooks, and everybody knows, and everybody's a foodie now. So everybody, of course, goes to the hotels and the lodges, no matter how far they are, with much higher expectations. So how do you deal with that? And so I have a few things about food that I want to share with you. So it's obvious you need to have great food, especially if you're in a place where people can't leave, right? If you're in New York in a hotel, yeah, you have some options. But if you're on an island in Panama, you have no options. You're stuck there, and the food better be good. So it's really important to invest in food and really make that happen. But I have a few comments about food that are really important to me. How many of you have seen salmon on a menu in a restaurant in the tropics? Right? I was in Antigua, in Guatemala recently. Every single restaurant that I visited, because we did inspections of hotels and restaurants, every single restaurant had salmon on the menu. Why? Exactly. Why? For crying out loud. Is that luxury? Because that's what they think it is. Is it luxury to offer fish that was caught 6 months ago, frozen, and then thawed, and then served, on the other side of the world? Let's ask ourselves, really, is that luxury? It's not my luxury, but it's happening a lot. So we teamed with an organization in the United States called Dock to Dish. They approached us, 3 years ago now, and it's a very simple thing. They just said, connect the local fisherman with a chef. Nobody in between, right? The world is not a Whole Foods where there's every fish always available every day, right? That's not real. That's not the real life. The real life is you talk to the fisherman, what did you fish today? I got this, this, and this. The chef says, okay, I'm going to make this, this, and this. The next day, he's not going to bring the same thing because the ocean is not a supermarket. And many of you that operate hotels near the ocean know how difficult it is to deal with fishermen and how difficult it is because they don't go fishing every day. And especially during the holidays, they get drunk and they have fun. And that's when we need most fish, right? Because we have most clients. So it's a really, really difficult thing to deal with, but it's step by step. Also, making sure you're not offering any endangered species, and that the fish that you buy is caught responsibly. So that's probably one of my biggest challenges, is making sure we get sustainable seafood on the plates. Still work in progress. The other one, and I had a great conversation with a few at lunchtime about fruit. I have two fruit stories. My first one is, in one of the hotels, the chefs were all proud because they made these incredible pastries for breakfast. They would bring out every morning to the guests different variety of pastries and put in front of the guests, and the evaluations for breakfast were always kind of mediocre, right? I said, you know what, I don't think they want pastries. How about some fresh fruit? It's like, nah, fresh fruit, that just grows everywhere, it's cheap, it's everywhere. Like, no, they don't want that. It's like, let's give it a try. We serve fresh fruit plate to everybody, and everybody's happy because you come from north, down south, to the tropics, and you have fresh fruit. And that's the luxury, again. So what is a luxury for the people up north is not necessarily a luxury from the people here in the tropics, because for them that's cheap, get in the market for less than $1, and it's really, really cheap. But then I started to think about, okay, so pineapple, is that really a sustainable thing to feed our guests? And I came to the conclusion, no. Watermelon, other melons, bananas, it's really not sustainable. The way that it's grown here in the tropics with pesticides, monocrops, erosion is really not. So we had a discussion at lunch. Gabriel was saying, well, I make almond milk in my, no, he said cashew milk, but we were talking about almond milk because that's available here in the morning. Is almond milk sustainable? It's kind of cool, it's kind of whole foodish, right? But almond is a tree that consumes huge amounts of water in California. So is that sustainable? Is pineapple sustainable? We're struggling with that. So we're looking for organic pineapple. We're trying to figure out how to do that. And I don't have all the solutions, but I just want to plant seeds with you. So you think about these things as well, your food choices. And just, really look at the label, look at what's going on. And then another thing we're out to right now is in the United States it's called Cisco, right? Like the big truck that comes and brings all the food, delivered, everything that you buy in bulk and everything. Here in Costa Rica it's called Belka, or every country has their food delivery service. So I'm out on a mission to get rid of Belka or Cisco or whatever. We don't want to buy ketchup or mustard or mayonnaise that's made thousands of kilometers away. We want to make our own. I want to make everything on my own, wherever possible. And if I can't make it, I don't serve it. So we've been cooking with olive oil for a long time because it's healthy and it's good, but do we really need to bring olive oil from Europe to cook? Probably not. We can figure it out. But it's just something that I never asked myself. So we're starting with these things, and we're really trying to see how we can become almost 100% local. There's a few things that are going to be hard. We're not going to ever make any good wine here in this country. It's not going to happen. But we're making good beer here now. There's a real craft beer revolution, and if you haven't tried some at the bar, they sell them there. They're actually pretty good. So Costa Rica had a slogan for many years that was very successful: no artificial ingredients. And that's where I want to get our culinary program to. And then there's one of my favorite topics is single-use plastics. And so some of you that have gone by our table, we gifted you some bamboo straws. So those bamboo straws we've been using in our hotels for almost 10 years. It was like, 10 years? But this is only like in fashion for a year or so, right? Well, 10 years ago we said, how do we get rid of plastic straws in our hotel? How do we do that? How we just make away with that? And a gardener in one of the hotels said, I have an idea. I have a plant that grows in my finca, and I think that could work. So he goes to his finca, cuts that grass. We call it bamboo straws, but it's really a grass. Cuts the grass, treats it, brings it. And ever since, we've been using hundreds of thousands of bamboo straws in our hotels to serve the drinks for stirrers and for straws. And of course, Don Trino is not working for us anymore. He has a successful straw business now, which I'm really happy for him. So sometimes people ask, so is it cheaper to be a sustainable because you save energy and you save all of these things, or is it more expensive? And I say it's both. And some things you save, and some things you pay extra. Those straws cost us 10 cents per straw. So our beverage cost per drink is 10% more than what it'd be with a plastic straw. But it's worth it. First of all, it's worth it because I know I'm not putting any straws up any turtle's nose, which makes me feel really good. My guests know that. And it's a great conversation piece at the bar when the bartender puts that straw in and people are like, what is this, right? So I think it's there's definitely a value. And then there's something that I want to really share with you because it's really, really important to me, which is single-use water bottles. I was very upset the last couple days on those buses when they handed out all these plastic water bottles. Please, refuse them. Bring your own bottle. It's not hard. We have luxury hotels. People pay up to $2,000 a night in our hotels. We don't have single-use plastic bottles for almost 10 years. Not in the minibar, not in the transfers, not in the restaurant, nowhere. Do not exist. It's not necessary. So if I can just pass that on to you, please refuse single-use water bottles. It's easy. It takes a little bit more effort, but it's easy. So if I can plant that seed, I'm happy. Okay, next point. Next lesson learned. The Costa Rica Tourism Board a few years ago asked me, so I think we should really use our sustainability efforts as a country in promotion. We can really go out and tell them how sustainable we are and everything. How many of you think that's a good idea, that Costa Rica should promote itself as a sustainable destination? Yeah, a few. I don't agree. I think it's not a good idea. I think it's very dangerous. It sounds like a good idea at first, but I said, do not do it in your promotion. I didn't say don't do it in your marketing, because it actually can be part of your marketing, Because marketing, as you all know, is also product, is what it is that you have. So you should have it in your product. You should be sustainable, but you shouldn't promote it because one, people don't really care. They don't make decisions based on sustainability. I don't believe the studies that say so. Usually studies say it's like 1% or 3% or 5%. I don't believe it because I see it. People don't come to our hotels because we're sustainable. They come because we have great service, great TripAdvisor reviews, great food, etc., etc. But here's the thing. People come because of the luxury and the comfort. They come to the hotels. And they come because of the experiences. But then what we do in order to convince them about, in order to explain what we do in terms of sustainability, we're a transparent hotel. There's no-go zones in our hotels where guests can't go. So we have something called sustainability tours, or in one hotel it's called Pigs, Twigs, and Garbage, where we take people in the back of the house and we show them everything. There's no secrets. There's no bodegas, no storage room that they can go into. They can see the laundry. They can see where the employees eat. They can see maintenance and everything. They can see all the products we use. Everything they want to see, we show it to them. And we explain to them how we're trying to be more and more sustainable. So while we don't use it in our promotion, we use it on site. And then we invite our guests to have that experience. And after they have the experience, they become raving fans. They go out and tell everybody, you should see that hotel. Can you believe what they did? They have pigs. The pigs eat the leftover food. The pigs fart. The pig fart turns into gas. And then with that gas, they cook again. It's like, wow, really? Where's that hotel? Right? So it becomes its own promotion. Yeah. What? Yeah. Hope saw that. Anyway, so again, it's about unique and authentic experiences that you create that have sustainability aspects that really make a difference. So we just started a guide school. We opened that for guests as well. Like many other hotels, we offer cooking classes. But what's really important is not a manicured, perfect cooking class, right? It's in the kitchen together, hugging, everybody together. Let's do this together. Let's figure it out. It's not perfect. Oops, we forgot that. Oh, let's go get that, right? It's authentic. It's real. That's what people are looking for. It's called the citizen science, right? It's a very hot topic right now to get your guests involved in scientific projects and help you collect data, collect information about what's going on in your ecosystems. So right now we're trying to figure out how can we do that. We have started some things like measuring the health of the rivers, the camera traps for the wildcats, but what other ways can we involve the guests not only in the guest experience, in the regular guest experience, the activities, but how can they help us be scientists collecting data so that we can improve the area where we are. Those are my lessons learned. Challenges ahead. It's 3 things that I see coming our way, and want to share with you just so we're all preparing ourselves. Climate change. This picture was taken from the air about 2 hours north of here in Nosara about 3 weeks ago. There's heavy rains, a tropical system came in. It wasn't even a hurricane. We don't have really hurricanes in Costa Rica. But it was a tropical depression that came in, and it just flooded the whole town. And it will happen again, and again, and again. So what are we going to do about it? On the one hand, and then Alvaro was sharing his statistics, we got to figure out how to make that 1.5%, 1.5 degree goal somehow, or get close to it. But on the other hand, we have to get prepared for that, because this is happening to all of you. Your clients will call you, oh, I'm here, hurricane, floodings, drought, that's a reality. And you have to prepare yourself for that. You have to think about how are you going to respond, and how we're going to deal with that as an industry, because it is impacting our industry. And I'm sure most of you already have examples, stories of how climate change has affected your guests in destinations or your hotels if you operate them. So this is definitely one of the important things to consider. And the other one is over tourism. and Claudio will talk about that after me. So I'm very curious to see what he has to say. I'm not going to go into much detail here, but I've written a couple blogs about it because I've seen it. And this is, as a travel industry, we also have to figure out how to get rid of that horrible seasonality pattern that we have, right? This is a national park in Central Pacific in Costa Rica in February. Is this the way Costa Rica sells itself as a nature destination? Not really, right? It's pretty horrible. I wouldn't want to be there. So how do we, as an industry, get rid of those peaks? That holiday season, that President's Week, that spring break, you know, and Semana Santa and all of those things. This beach on December 28th, I don't want to be here. It's beautiful. But on the 28th of December, I want to be in San Jose because there's nobody in San Jose. I don't want to be at the beach. So you got to be careful where you send your people, you know, to what places, because the experience is not the experience that we're having here right now. So over-tourism is definitely a big thing, and I'm very curious about what Claudio has to talk to us about. And thirdly, there's still a big indifference to sustainability. I mentioned it when I said, you know, don't really use marketing in your promotion because people don't care. You're familiar with Skift, the online newsletter, magazine, tourism. I think it's a very good thing, and the editor does some really good things. So he published this 21 uncomfortable truths that I have learned about the travel industry. How many of you have read this article? I've seen it. I really recommend that you sign up for the newsletter Skift. It's really, really good and really up-to-date information about the travel industry. So point number, I think it was 13, he said, nobody cares about sustainability. I'm like, whoa, wow, right? And he says, it's only when it's convenient, it's only when there's a commercial interest in there that people care about it. And then they forget about it again. And to a certain degree, he's right. I wrote to him. I said, hey, Rafa, you can't say that. You know, there's some people that care about sustainability. Lots of you do, right? But you're right. There's some people that really don't care. So he changed actually the point. If you go back to this blog, he changed it. It doesn't say nobody cares about sustainability anymore. Now it says few people care about sustainability. So, you know, that was nice of him to change that in a what do you call it, the podcast later. He also talked about Costa Rica, and he talked about how there's some people that really do care about sustainability. But what it is I have conversations with managers of big Marriott hotels, Hyatt hotels, Four Seasons, and all of that, and they're still fighting against those small shampoo bottles because it's not luxurious to have dispensers. For crying out loud, you know. I mean, you know, and it's the same people. 5 minutes, yes. Yeah, I'm almost done. And it's the same people that serve the salmon, right, in the restaurant, and it's the same people that have complimentary plastic bottles in the rooms, right? And from Fiji, right? Because we don't have water here in Costa Rica. You got to bring it from Fiji. Tastes much better, right? God. Anyway, so there still is an indifference to sustainability in our industry, and I think we can do better. He's right, so we'll see. He said maybe I'll come up to speak at his next forum in New York, and we'll see what we can do up there. So conclusions. Almost done. Life is service. It's about service, experience, people, food. It's not rocket science. That's why I'm in this industry, because I'm not that smart. You know, it's about service. It's about smiles. It's about treating people right. It's about creating experiences, and you know, if you do that right, you got most of it covered. Tell the story. You've heard about the whole storytelling and everything, and your marketing team is like, storytelling. We have to do more storytelling. How do we do storytelling, right? Storytelling happens every day. Just look for him. For you, talk to your staff. Talk to your staff about what they're up to, what's going on. The storytelling of, for example, going back to the sustainability tour. When we take people on that back of the house tour, we're telling a story. We're telling the story about how we do sustainability. And it's working. I mean, I see it. I see how people share the stories that they hear that happen to them at our hotels, and funny, they come back to me from another angle. I heard that you did this and this and this. Yeah, great. You know, it's working. And lesson number 3, do the right thing. How many of you offset your flights coming to Costa Rica? How many of you, bought, offset? You, great job. Anybody else? To offset your carbon emissions for your flight coming to Costa Rica. There's a few, makes me happy. That's wonderful. I flew in from Sansa from San Jose, and Sansa is an airline that actually is a carbon-free airline, so they offset the emissions themselves, which is really great. So I don't have to deal with it. I flew to Panama 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to offset my emissions, and it was $1.45, like $1.45. Like, I think the process of credit card and everything is probably more expensive than that. So we agreed that we're just going to add some of my flights, and then I offset it later at the end of the year. But think about it. You take it for granted. You're flying around the world. How many of those tons of carbon that Alvaro showed us yesterday that fit in here are our responsibility with this event? Let's do something about it. The other thing, example, my company turned 15 years this year, and instead of having a lavish banquet with lots of wine and dinner and salmon, we actually planted 721 trees between all the employees of the hotels here in Costa Rica. And so it's so much more gratifying. It's so much more gratifying for everybody, not only for me, but for everybody involved. And it's not hard. It's really not hard. So, last conclusion, I'm almost done, is be ready. Because this world is just crazy. I mean, put yourself back 4-5 years. Would you have thought that the presidents elected today would really be the presidents elected today? No. Would you think that the issues we're dealing with were the issues that you had on your agenda 5 years ago? Not really. The world is changing, so we got to be ready. We got to be ready. I had a very personal situation. We had the best year in Nicaragua ever this year, actually, all the way until April. Then things got tough in Nicaragua for 3 months. So we're just about to reopen the hotel. I'm going to Nicaragua next week. And got to be ready for these kind of things. They can happen anytime. Your most selling destination might just drop because of political, climate change things. And you have to be ready. So stay on it, be ready, and thank you very much. That's what I have to share. Thank you. That's it.